My 13-year-old brother leaves the house every night. When I found out why, I never looked at him the same. Every evening at 6 o'clock, straight after dinner, my brother who was 13 left the house and did not come back until well after midnight. He claimed to just be meeting friends. It was summer, so our parents did not mind. They were just glad that he had finally stopped playing Call of Duty with strangers on the internet and made some real-life friends instead. However, I had my suspicions. My brother had never exactly played well with others. A few years prior, he bit a boy at a birthday party. As his older sister, I felt protective and wanted to make sure he wasn't getting himself into trouble or wrapped up with the wrong crowd. I was only 2 years older than him, but I still felt it was my responsibility to look out for him. One evening, after he left, I asked my parents if they really thought he was just going to meet friends. They looked at each other and shrugged. Our father said we had no reason not to believe him. I said we should worry about what he was doing with these friends, if they even really existed. Our father sipped his tea and our mother put more bread into the toaster. Our mother then asked if I was jealous about my brother having friends. She claimed I wasn't exactly popular myself. She said I used to spend most of my spare time with my brother before he made his new friends. It was not true that I did not have many friends. I had lots of friends. But it was true that me and my brother spent a lot of time together. I loved him and he was my friend. To be honest, he was my best friend. But my interest in his new friends was honestly out of concern rather than jealousy. I considered my brother to be a very naive and innocent individual. He still believed wrestling was real for God's sake. I just had the sinking feeling that somebody was taking advantage of him or making him do really bad stuff. The following morning, I walked into his room as he slept and sat on the edge of his bed. I thought if I ambushed him early then he might part with the truth a bit more easily. I screamed and my brother sat sharply up as if he had just woken from a nightmare. I laughed and he called me a bitch while rubbing his eyes. I begged him to tell me where he went at night, and he fed me the same old BS friend's excuse. I said I did not believe him and was just being a good sister by trying to find out the truth. He said he did not need my help, protection or friendship. I stole the pillow from behind his back and started beating him over the head. This was an attempt at harassing him into telling me the truth. This attempt did not work. He fought back with a second pillow and quickly gained the upper hand. I fled from his room, and he slammed the door. He told me to mind my own business from the other side. That evening, I decided to follow my brother. Usually, I am an advocate for respecting someone's privacy, but this was about a family member's safety. As he walked up the driveway, I put on my jumper and pulled up the hood. My parents asked where I was going, and I said I was going to meet some friends. I had to be careful while following my brother. I stayed a safe distance behind and dropped down to tie my shoelaces the one time he looked back. When he walked into a small grocery store, I ducked behind a BMW and peeked over the side to watch him. He waited until the sole cashier turned around, then stuffed his pockets with candy and paste from the store. I expected an alarm to go off but only heard the nearby traffic and concluded my brother must have known the store was too cheap to have a proper security system. This was where I first started thinking my brother might be less innocent and naive than I originally thought. I continued following him until he reached a farm located 5 minutes outside of town. He knocked on the door and I crouched behind the ditch at the top of the thankfully short entrance road. A girl answered the door and pulled him straight into a hug followed by a sloppy kiss on the cheek. This girl was cute, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. I did not think my brother had reached the stage of liking girls. Just the previous week, he had fretted over the existence of cooties and laughed at the idea of hanging out with the girl who lived across the street. As I turned to go home and further contemplate the true reason for my brother's daily outings, the girl led him around the side of the 2-story farmhouse. Curiosity got the better of me and I prayed none of the girl's family were watching from the windows. I peeked around the corner of the house and saw my brother sitting with the girl on a garden bench. They ate the sweets he stole from the grocery store and told each other horrendously unfunny knock-knock jokes. Then the girl stood up from the bench and opened the back door of her house and a dog sprinted around the garden. The dog jumped onto my brother's lap, and he pushed him off. My brother never liked dogs. I heard the girl say she had been wanting to get rid of the dog for a long time. She said he belonged to her stepmother. My brother and the girl bent beside the dog and broke off little squares of chocolate from the jumbo-sized bar. They fed the chocolate squares to the dog while shooting each other mischievous smiles. I recalled all the times our parents told us never to feed chocolate to a dog due to its fatal effect. I sprinted away from the house, distraught that my previously sweet brother had turned into an animal-murdering monster. When I got back to our house, my parents immediately noticed my red eyes and asked me what was wrong. I didn't have the heart to tell them what their son had become. I had decided to deal with the problem on my own, but just didn't know how yet. I told them I had gotten into a fight with my friends and wanted to be left alone. I went to my room, got into bed and buried my face in my pillow. I was woken the following morning by my brother knocking on the door. He sat on the edge of my bed and sighed. Our parents had told him I was upset and sent him to comfort me. He asked me what happened and who were these supposed friends that had upset me. I sat up to yell at him and call him a murderer. I was about to call him all the nasty names under the sun, warning him to never go near that girl or her house again. Then I realized that was only going to drive him further into her psychotic grasp. I told my brother to mind his own business and leave me alone. He mumbled something about me getting more dramatic with every passing day and left my room. I came up with a plan to get my brother away from the bad influence farm girl without him ever knowing my input. Some internet research revealed it was only the girl, her father and her stepmother living at the house. The girl's name was Emer and I thought that was an ugly name. An hour later, I was back at the top of the Emer's laneway. I watched the house for 40 minutes, pondering the best way to execute my plan. Then her dad and stepmom got into their car. I pretended to be a stranger out for a stroll and waved as they drove past. When their car had turned the corner, I walked up the laneway and knocked on the door. Emer answered the door, and I walked straight past her into the living room. She asked me what the hell I thought I was doing, and I sat down on her couch. She threatened to call the police, and I said I would tell her father and stepmom the truth about the dog unless she did exactly what I said. I instructed the girl not to speak to my brother or even look in his direction again. I instructed her to block his number and ignore him if he ever approached her when school started back up. The girl nodded meekly and told me she was sorry for everything. She said the dog had bit her, and I said I did not believe her nor care. Back at my home, as I ate dinner with my family, I felt proud of myself. I had successfully looked out for my little brother. Us being able to be friends again was also a nice bonus. I imagined he would be heartbroken over losing the girl, but I knew it was for the best in the long term. Besides, he was 13. It couldn't have been anything more than puppy love. Then, after dinner, much to my confusion, my brother put on his coat and said he was off to meet his friends again. I chased him up the driveway and asked if he had heard from his friends today. My brother turned around and laughed in my face. Some of his spit landed on my nose. My brother said he no longer considered me his sister. He said it would be my word against his and the girls about what happened to the dog. He warned me to never go near her again or else I'd see a side of him that I would not like. I didn't know what to say. Ever since then, I looked at him with disgust, wondering how he could do the horrid things he was doing. He would leave at 6 o'clock for about the next 2 months almost every night, and my parents never suspected a thing. I decided to leave it alone because I actually feared him. If he had the heartlessness to kill that dog, who knows how dangerous he really could be. As soon as I left for college, I made a vow to myself that I would never try and see my brother again. I've stayed true to that, even if it means missing family events that he would be at. Sometimes my parents argue with me about not showing up, but I just tell them that my brother knows why, and you will just have to get it out of him. I don't think they actually have yet, or he probably would have tried to frame me for that thing he did so long ago. It frightens me that he could have done so much more by now, but I am not really afraid of him anymore. I have a big strong husband now that I feel can protect me and our 2-year-old. My sick brother is no match for him.